I wouldn't be able to tell you what it is.
Yeah.
We're very close.
Yeah, okay.
Pretty much almost done.
Yeah.
Like the runway was completed last year.
Yeah, because last time we were here like 2 weeks ago, later it's 94% ready for the terminal. I reckon now it must be, I don't know, 97, 8.
See,
Looks to be ready for me.
yeah, I would say it's nearly done. There's just some of the outside that needs to be completed.
Yeah.
But pretty much most of the construction will be pretty much done this year.
Yeah.
And that's when we start running our own trials.
Yeah.
So that's why we don't go until next year. So construction is done at like over a year before the airport opens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we don't get to actually see what's inside until it opens.
I saw the YouTube video.
You could have a look at our socials and see if we do have an open day, we go out there and stuff like that. But I don't
if
know.
we are lucky enough.
Yeah.
Is it like a lottery or something, or just
Pretty much, it feels like it. You have to sign up to a newsletter,
Yeah.
and from there you'll receive an email, and you have to get cheaper tickets as soon as possible.
Awesome. Thank you.
No, very good.
是的，像我们来说，那个还是个框架，
是
一下就这样好。差不多。
world-class player for another year. New South Wales coach Laurie Daly says he didn't like seeing vision from training leaked to the media. State of Origin starts tomorrow with the Blues taking on the Maroons in Game 1 at Lake Park. Footage from yesterday's private Blues session showed star centre Stephen Crichton heavily strapped with ice, raising questions about his fitness. Daly says the concerns about spine will be addressed.
You'd like it to be a private session. At the end of the day, it is what it is, but I'm not concerned about that yet. I'll worry about that.
Meanwhile, in women's origin, New South Wales Blues second rowing Yasmin Clydesdale says the team will not hold back in Game 3 at Newcastle's Hunter Stadium this Thursday. Blues coach John Strange has named an unchanged starting 17 from his Game 2 squad, while Queensland coach Tani Norris has been forced to make changes due to injury. Clydesdale says they'll be sticking with their game plan that saw them win the first 2 games.
We just have to know our role and make sure that we do it, because it's going to take all of us to come away with the win. And I think the last 2 games, we've definitely just, everyone's known their role. We've listened to whatever Strangey needs to say to us. So hopefully we can do that in the third game and then come away with that win as well.
Here's the latest in sport.
Fraser, thank you. Checking the markets, the Warburgs is up 0.25%, the ASX 200 up 0.27%. The Aussie dollar is buying 64.83 cents. Checking the weather in the capital cities this Tuesday, starting in Brisbane where it's becoming cloudy and 28 degrees right now. Windy in Sydney and 18, showers in Canberra 9 degrees. Showers developing in Melbourne 12, Hobart showers 15, Adelaide partly cloudy 17 right now, Perth sunny at 17 degrees, and in Darwin possible shower at 31 degrees. It's 2:30 Australian Eastern Standard Time, 2 p.m. in the centre and 12:30 in the west. Let's get some news headlines now with Eliza Kinsey.
Roger Cook says payments to members of the Stolen Generations are expected to begin later this year as part of a new redress application. This which is allowed to members of the Stolen Generations who families across WA prior to July 1st, 1972. There's been an outpouring of love and support from around the UK after a car drove into a crowd of soccer fans in Liverpool, injuring dozens of people. 27 people were taken to hospital. A 53-year-old British man was arrested. The Liverpool Football Club says its thoughts and prayers are with everyone affected. Staying overseas, North Korea has labelled Donald Trump's plan to build a missile shield a serious threat and would turn space into a nuclear battleground. Last week, US President Trump unveiled his plan to build a so-called Golden Dome defence system, where Pyongyang says it risks triggering an arms race and raising tensions with nuclear-armed countries. The Prime Minister says there are massive challenges ahead for communities on the New South Wales mid-north coast as they face a mammoth clean-up after last week's floods. Anthony Albanese has announced the Australian Government Disaster Recovery Payment will be available from tomorrow afternoon in 9 local government areas. That's a $1,000 one-off payment. And the Disaster Recovery Allowance, which provides up to 13 weeks of income support, will be extended to 19 local government areas. The Victorian Government has rejected the idea it's making policy overnight when it comes to bringing forward a ban on machetes. The government will ban the sale of machetes from tomorrow, bringing it forward from September after gang members were seen fighting with the weapons at a shopping centre on Sunday. Labor Minister Gabrielle Williams says the government has been working with police on the new laws. And Billy Artist of the Year at this year's American Music Awards. The US singer has claimed the event's top prize, beating Taylor Swift, Kendrick Lamar, Sabrina Carpenter and others. Gracie Abrams is the winner of New Artist of the Year, and SZA is taking home the prize for Female R&B Artist. That's the headlines for now. I'll have more news for you in half an hour. Eliza, thank you. You're listening to ABC News Radio. Hello, Rachel Hayter with you this Tuesday, making news. ATO whistleblower Richard Boyle pleads guilty to 4 charges. A community in Queensland's Wide Bay region shaken by the alleged murder of a child. And Tasmanian Senators Jackie Lang and Lincoln holding the last 2 of the
States 6 Senate seats. Showers in Canberra, Melbourne, Hobart and Darwin, clear in the other capital cities. A former ATO debt collector turned whistleblower has pleaded guilty to 4 charges, including taping private conversations without consent. Richard Boyle first raised concerns about the ATO's operations in 2017. And when his complaints were ignored, he went public and told the ABC's Four Corners program. Angus Randall is in Adelaide, where Richard Boyle has faced court this morning. He explains the background.
So in 2017, Richard Boyle alleged his section of the ATO was instructed to use heavy-handed tactics on taxpayers who owed the tax office money. He said his Adelaide office was told to target small businesses to meet revenue goals before the end of financial year and to seize money directly from the bank accounts of these taxpayers without consulting them. The ATO has said it previously only uses these garnishee notices as a last resort. He went public with his concerns on the ABC's Four Corners in 2018. His house was then raided by the ATO and federal police. It's obviously been a years-long legal battle. He's faced up to 66 charges during that time. That could have resulted in decades of time in prison. This has been whittled down over the years to just a few charges.
And what happened this morning in court?
So he's pleaded guilty to 4 charges in SA's District Court, disclosing protected information, making a record of protected information, using a listening device to record private conversations, and recording another person's tax file number. 5 charges were dropped earlier this year. Now, all the other charges have been dropped today, so it does appear some sort of deal has been struck to ensure this guilty plea. He's been trying to invoke whistleblower protections, but this has been denied by the courts. That's all the way up to the High Court. Richard Boyle has not spoken after today's court appearance, but he's been supported in court by former SA Independent Senator Rex Patrick.
What this shows is that you need to be a King's Counsel in order to be able to blow the whistle. You know, Richard's conduct has been examined by a district court with well-paid barristers, silks, and before the full court, before some understanding of what the law actually was became apparent. And that just tells you how broken things are. It shouldn't be that you need to have a law degree to call out misconduct or maladministration or malfeasance inside government.
That's former South Australian Independent Senator Rex Patrick. So, Angus, does this bring to an end Richard Boyle's legal challenges?
I would say that's most likely. The case will next be in the courts in August to discuss sentencing. But larger whistleblower advocates have called on the federal government to change the laws around whistleblower protections. It actually comes a day before military whistleblower David McBride faces court in Canberra. He's appealing the severity of a nearly 6-year jail sentence for leaking documents to the ABC, which showed credible evidence of war crimes committed by Australian forces in Afghanistan. Former Senator Rex Patrick says today's guilty plea will discourage future whistleblowers.
There was an opportunity for the Attorney General to withdraw these charges. That simply didn't happen, and it just shows that there's injustice in our political system where we persecute people who blow the whistle. This will have a chilling effect on all whistleblowers. The message being sent today by the Commonwealth Government is, if you blow the whistle, we will pursue you to the end.
That's former SA Independent Senator Rex Patrick, and before him, reporter Angus Randall speaking with Andy Park. A community in Queensland's Wide Bay region has been shaken by the alleged murder of a child. The 3-year-old girl was found unresponsive at a home in Moore Park Beach late yesterday afternoon and couldn't be saved. A woman has appeared in a Queensland court charged over the murder. Joanna Marie reports from Bundaberg Police Station.
Police are investigating the alleged murder of a 3-year-old girl at Moore Park Beach, north of Bundaberg. Officers were called to the address just before 5 o'clock yesterday afternoon and found the child unresponsive on the front lawn of the house. Police arrested the mother at the scene, 32-year-old Lauren Ingrid Flanagan.
Female at that address at the time, who we now know to believe to be the mother of that child. She was taken into custody yesterday afternoon, interviewed at the Bundaberg Police Station, and later charged with the murder of that child and attended court as well.
The incident has left neighbours in shock in the normally quiet beachside community that's home to many families and retirees. Today, the house remains a crime scene and under police guard as investigations continue. Ms Flanagan appeared in the Bundaberg Magistrates Court today and was remanded in custody.
Joanne Marie reporting. There are fears for an Australian man who's been arrested in Bali in connection to the alleged smuggling of more than $1 million worth of cocaine. While he's yet to be charged, legal experts say there's no question he could face the death penalty for a crime of this scale. Bridget Fitzgerald prepared this report.
Handcuffed, wearing an orange jumpsuit with a black balaclava over his head, Lamar Aaron Archie is flanked by police as they escort him through a crowd of journalists and photographers. The Australian man has been arrested in connection with the alleged smuggling of 1.8 kilograms of cocaine. Daniel Aditya is the Bali police chief.
From the uncovering process, the Bali Narcotics Directorate has seized evidence of a first-category narcotic, cocaine, found in plastic packaging totaling 206 packets with a gross weight of 1,816.92 grams.
Police say they received a tip-off that 2 separate packages of drugs would be arriving from overseas, sent to 2 different addresses. It's alleged customs officers intercepted the packages, which police say were disguised as Lindor Lint chocolates, and detected the drugs using an X-ray machine before arranging the delivery of the packages under police observation. Mr. Archie was arrested after allegedly receiving those packages. Police say the packages contained an estimated $1.1 million worth of cocaine. Mr. Archie hasn't yet been charged, but Bali Police Chief Daniel Aditya says he could face serious penalties.
Importing or distributing first-category narcotics is punishable by the death penalty, life imprisonment, or a minimum of 5 years and a maximum of 20 years in prison.
Simon Butt is a professor of Indonesian law at the University of Sydney. He says if Mr. Archie is named a suspect, which is akin to being charged, the penalties can be severe.
They can include for an amount over 5 grams a period of imprisonment and a fine, including life imprisonment, and even the death penalty is unfortunately on the table.
Tim Lindsay is the director of the Centre for Indonesian Law at the University of Melbourne Law School.
Well, there's no doubt that it's a very serious offence. It would be a serious offence in Australia as well. But let's remember that Chappelle Corby, who had a large amount of marijuana, faced death. So there's no question that in Indonesian law, this person will also face the possibility of the death penalty, or alternatively life in prison, or a prison sentence of up to 20 years.
Police say they're not suggesting Mr. Archie was the mastermind of the operation, but say he was promised about 50...
Darling, go let them know, man.
Hey, at terryshare.com.au. Before buying this insurance issued by AAI Limited trading as Terry Shear, read the PDS and consider whether it's right for you. Go to terryshare.com.au for a copy. The TMD is also available.
You've got a sore shoulder from yesterday, but those disc brakes won't fix themselves. You need pain relief from muscle and joint injuries. New Celebrex Relief. Works hard because you do. New Celebrex Relief. Ask your pharmacist about this product. Incorrect use could be harmful.
More. That's what you want for the property you're selling. More buyers, more offers, more money. What you don't want is more empty promises. When Harris Partners say they'll sell your property, they back it up with more than words. They give you a price guarantee agreement in writing. Harris Partners, the superior alternative to selling your property. Call 1300-HARRIS. That's 1300-427-747 and get more.
Afternoons on TGB. Keep the price rise with the Blind Factory. Call 13-BLINDS now for expert advice, unbeatable deals, and a lifetime guarantee.
At 18 minutes to 3, by the way, this is through from the bomb. High tides may cause minor flooding along the Cooks River at Tinkwe Bridge this evening, and again on the high tides Wednesday evening. So just to repeat that from Bureau Meteorology, high tides may cause minor flooding along the Cooks River at Tinkwe Bridge this evening, and again on the high tides Wednesday evening. Now, I've spoken on this show, as you know, about the state of manufacturing in Australia. We had Made in Australia Week just the other week, and we spoke to people about that. Many of those that are in the industry are increasingly being linked to the renewables sector. That seems to be where a lot of government money is going for domestic manufacturing of whatever it happens to be. Certainly the Future Made in Australia pot of gold is heavily directed, it's pushed in that direction. But there are concerns about the state of manufacturing with high energy prices, high wages, and all the rest of it. Now, we have seen some sad stories of late. Qenos, Oceania Glass, Whyalla, of course, and that's just a few. There are some concerns about fertiliser plants up in the north now. All of them have a common denominator, struggling to get access to energy if they can, struggling to afford it, and then all of the other costs on top, which are, internationally speaking, quite uncompetitive. Now, we all say we want to have a strong domestic manufacturing base. And as I keep saying, without it, we can't really call ourselves a first world, let alone diversified economy. But we're going to have to back up the saying with policies and action which make it practical. And this is where Jeff Crittenden comes in. He's the CEO of Austral, and he's warning that another section of our manufacturing backbone could be in trouble, in part because we aren't using more Australian products. And this is particularly local welding and fabrication. This is the steel industry. Jeff is on the line. Jeff, great to speak with you. Thank you for your time.
Michael, you don't need to talk to me. That was a great introduction.
Look, it's just the nub of where we're at. Now, look, Australia's a high-cost economy, small quantities of scale compared to China. We understand all of that. So we're never going to be as cheap as Africa or the subcontinent. We're never going to have the huge facilities like China or the United States. But equally, if we want to survive, we've got to have some domestic capability, even in areas like yours, don't we?
That's absolutely correct. And what prompted me to write this recent media release is I've been meeting some members in Western Sydney, and they're telling me that we're currently facing a glut of imported fabricated steel from Vietnam, and it's 20 to 40% cheaper than we could make it. Doesn't apply to Australian standards. The builders are just taking the cheapest option, and they're seriously worried about going bust, Michael. And some of these businesses are old family businesses. They've been around for a long time, don't employ a huge number of people, but they're good businesses, and it's a terrible crime to see them, go down.
Sure, I agree. Now, the free marketeers out there, some of them head of the Liberal Party and elsewhere, they would be saying, oh, well, look, if they can't compete, well, this is what markets do. We'll sell something back to the Vietnamese that we're better at than them. I'm not sure what that is, but that's a sort of the simplistic free marketeer view. But the practical person says, once these industries go, you don't just lose the skills and the intergenerational know-how and the rest. I mean, heaven forbid we have a global conflict breakout. You don't have the facilities that you can, from a governmental point of view, repurpose for the effort. And so there are a number of reasons why we've got to try to keep these alive, aren't there?
It's absolutely correct. We need to maintain some local strategic capability. But the thing that worries me more than anything is so much of the product imported from overseas doesn't comply to Australian standards. So we're not playing on a level playing field. Every piece of steel that's fabricated in Australia is fabricated to an Australian or international standard. It has to comply. If you're doing government work, you find that there are inspectors around every couple of weeks to make sure you're welding. They check the qualifications of all your welders. I mean, there's a big cost to all of that. And at the moment, the steel that's coming in doesn't comply to Australian standards as far as we know any other standard. And our members can't even buy the steel for the price that it's being sold from Vietnamese are selling it in Australia.
Okay, now the imported fabricated steel, especially from Vietnam, as you say, how much of that is actually being tested at the border to make sure it is compliant with or isn't compliant with Australian standard? How much is being tested?
I can tell you, zero.
None.
None at all. There is no compliance with Australian standards. There's no enforceable way that any product coming into this country complies to Australian standards. There's an awful lot. If it's made in Australia, you can rely upon it. If it comes from anywhere else, there's absolutely no guarantee that it complies with Australian standards. And I'll give you a slight example. It's not it's not a fabricated steel example, but I happen to be at Ducks, the water heater guys, last Friday looking at some of their Hall of Shame, and they've got water heaters coming in from overseas that literally fall apart after a few weeks. They've got they're coming in from China. If you build something, if the Australian ducks build a water heater, it's got to be tested through 250,000 cycles. You test one of these, it doesn't even get to 40,000 cycles, some 10,000.
Okay, so why do we let it in? I mean, these are safety concerns, right? We're not dealing with playing cards.
Real safety concerns. There wasn't very long ago that a bridge was erected in Western Sydney, and it fell apart after 2 months. When they inspected it, they found that what had happened, to get it through the weighbridge test that the local council put it through, they filled it with water.
Okay.
It's just serious.
Somebody's
going to die from this. Somebody's going to die.
It's very serious. That's why we're speaking. You keep mentioning the Australian standards, Jeff. In all of that, increasingly the government, I think, and others are insisting that there are certain green milestones being met. We've had all of these ideas about green hydrogen, green nickel, and they've all fallen over. But we're now talking about green steel, and there's upward pressure on Australian business. There's a cost associated with greening the supply chain. Would I be right in saying the stuff coming out of Vietnam, I mean, that's of no interest to them whatsoever, hence why, again, they can make it cheaper?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's an important point, Michael. We don't know anything about the standards that they comply in terms of the pollution or energy or anything like that. And more to the point, we don't know, what safety they have over there. I mean, safety is a big concern in every Australian factory. If you're a director of a company, you can go to jail for not complying to Australian safety standards. We don't know what standards they're complying to. And it's a dangerous business world, and you have to have the proper respiratory gear and so on. We don't know any of that. We just come. It turns up on the docks. We had a bridge turn up on the docks in Brisbane a couple.